Before we dive into this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel. There's a lot more coming your way. And tell me in the comments, where are you listening from? I want to know how far this story has reached. No more waiting. Let's get into the video.
Blood smeared the cracked visor of Rylan Voss's combat helmet. His breathing came in sharp, ragged bursts, echoing inside the enclosed shell like a countdown to death. Sparks danced overhead from a severed power conduit, casting strobing shadows across the shattered arena. He stood alone, muscles taut, plasma blade humming low and unstable. Opposite him, a Grellic behemoth let out a guttural roar, 7 feet of claws, armored hide, and pure rage. They wanted a show. He'd give them one. Rylan darted left, letting instinct take over. The arena's floor was slick with ash and blood. His foot skidded, but he twisted mid-slide, slicing across the behemoth's exposed flank. A jet of violet blood sprayed out, sizzling as it hit the ground. The crowd howled. Alien voices, dozens of species, screamed for more violence, more spectacle. None of them cheered for the human. He was the last of his kind here. 3 years ago, Rylan was a tactical commando with the Interstellar Peace Corps. Now, he was just a name on a betting board beneath the surface of Kalor Prime, a gladiator forced to kill to survive. A shadow moved beyond the energy cage. Noble spectators, Aurelians most likely. He'd seen their kind before, silver-skinned elites with bioluminescent markings and piercing sapphire eyes. Watching him bleed was their entertainment. Every night, they came for war. But tonight felt different. Rylan plunged his blade deep into the behemoth's chest with a grunt, a surge of resistance, then collapse. The creature shuddered, twitching as its heart ruptured. Silence. Then the arena lights flared green. He was still alive. For now. "Remove the body!" barked a handler over the comms. Rylan dropped to one knee, adrenaline fading. His shoulder burned, grazed by one of the behemoth's claws, and his ribs throbbed. Another scar. Another round won. As the corpse was dragged away by drones, Rylan's gaze drifted upward. She was there again. Behind a high-security viewing shield, framed by 2 towering Aurelian guards, a figure watched him in silence. Unlike the others, she didn't cheer or smirk. Her silver hair was pulled back, her expression unreadable, but those sapphire eyes burned through the chaos. He'd seen her before, always watching, never speaking. "Get him to medical," someone ordered. The guards pulled him toward the corridor. No time to rest. No gratitude, just another fight tomorrow. Another beast, another crowd. Back in the holding cells, Rylan sat with a cold nutrient bar and a cracked rib. He traced the old scar down his arm, the one from an arc blaster back on Mars. He wasn't supposed to be here. None of the Earth delegation was. They were betrayed, sold out by a colonial governor. All executed, except him. They spared the best fighter for the arena. The door hissed open. A shadow stepped inside. "Your match impressed," said the voice. Feminine, smooth, precise. Rylan stood instinctively, body tensing for a fight. She stepped forward. Not a guard, not a slaver. Her silver cloak bore the crest of the House Draven, the Aurelian noble family, and her eyes, sapphire. "Who are you?" Rylan growled. Her gaze didn't flinch. "My name is Celira Draven, and I'm about to change everything." The door sealed behind her with a heavy thud. Rylan had no idea what was coming next, but for the first time in 3 years, something shifted inside him. Not hope, purpose. The central plaza of Kalor Prime pulsed with artificial sunlight, filtered through layers of shielded glass high above the colony's subterranean metropolis. The crowd moved like a slow wave. Traders, mercenaries, diplomats, and soldiers mingling beneath holographic banners of the colonial authority. Propaganda scrolled across the air. Peace through order, unity through control. But everyone knew the truth. The authority controlled with fear, and the people obeyed silently. Selira Draven moved through the market with a practiced grace, her silver cloak trailing behind her like liquid starlight. Whispers followed her. Aurelian nobility rarely walked among the lower tiers, much less unguarded, but Selira wasn't here for ceremony. She was here for war, a quiet one, for now. She stopped before a vendor stall selling medical cartridges, expired, overpriced, and essential. A karate mother pleaded with the merchant, her infant wheezing in her arms. The price for a basic respiratory vial had doubled. Again, the guards didn't care. They never did. Selira stepped forward. "This child is dying," she said, her voice calm but cutting, "and you're extorting her." The merchant, a bloated Traskian, snorted, "I pay my tariffs, noble. Take it up with Varric Torgan. I intend to—" She turned to the surrounding crowd. Her voice rose, not in anger, but in defiance. "People of Kalor Prime, how many of you have lost someone to these illegal taxes? How many watched loved ones suffer while medicine sat in guarded crates? Varric Torgan bleeds you dry to fund his warships and gladiator games." Murmurs, then silence. A long, trembling hush as fear wrapped around them like a noose. The guards moved quickly, 4 of them in dark exo-armor. Shock batons charged. "Lady Draven," one sneered, "you're violating colonial code 17A, incitement of civil disruption." "I'm invoking noble right to speak. That only applies within fortress boundaries." One of them grabbed her arm. That was a mistake. With a twist of her body, Selira slammed her palm against the guard's visor. A burst of light, raw neural discharge, blinded him. He screamed. She pivoted, swept a leg, dropped the second. The crowd gasped, frozen between admiration and dread. The third guard stunned her with a baton across the back. She hit the ground hard. Pain stabbed her spine as she was dragged to her knees. "You want to play hero?" the commander spat. "You'll get your turn in the square." The sentence was clear. 10 strikes of the neural lash, a punishment meant to break bones and silence voices. They bound her wrists tight. A child cried out in the crowd. The Karathi mother backed away, clutching her baby, eyes wide with fear. Everyone else, silent, terrified. The authority had won again, almost, because one man was watching. Behind the crowd, hidden beneath a tattered cloak and the shadow of a broken obelisk, Rylan Voss moved. He wasn't supposed to be here. He'd broken out of medical 2 hours ago. Painkillers still clouded his vision, but the rage kept him focused. He saw her take the blow, saw her bleed, saw the look of defiance that didn't fade, and something inside him snapped. No more. He moved, quick, silent, direct. The crowd parted as he pushed through. Some recognized him, the human from the arena, the beast, the survivor, but none stopped him. He stepped into the square just as the first lash was about to fall. "I take her place," he said. The voice wasn't loud, but it hit like a plasma burst. The guards froze. The crowd froze. Selira looked up, eyes wide, shocked. The commander blinked. "You what?" Rylan dropped to one knee. "I take her place." "By what right?" "By the only one that matters," he said, pulling off the cloak to reveal his scarred back, his bloodied arm, the remnants of battle still fresh, the right to bleed. The guards hesitated. For the first time, uncertainty flickered in their visors. Selira's voice broke through the silence. "Don't. This isn't your fight." Rylan met her eyes. "It is now." The lash ignited. The first strike fell, and Kayla Prime witnessed something no one had seen in a generation, a human choosing to suffer for someone else. The lash came down again. White light exploded behind Rylan's eyes as the neural blade cut across his back, bypassing flesh to rupture nerves. He didn't scream, he didn't fall. His jaw clenched hard enough to crack a molar, his breath tight through gritted teeth. Strike 3. The crowd couldn't look away now. Alien merchants froze mid-transaction. Laborers dropped crates. Even the guards hesitated between each command. The arena champion, the human gladiator, was kneeling in the square, taking 10 lashes meant for a noble-blooded Aurelian. This wasn't survival. This was sacrifice. "Strike!" the commander shouted again, trying to reassert control. The whip cracked. Strike 4. Rylan's muscles jerked involuntarily. His body threatened collapse, but his mind held on with iron fury. He'd survived Kayla's pits. Survived starvation, broken bones, betrayal. This pain, it was just noise. Somewhere behind him, Selira fought against her restraints, shouting, "Stop! This is madness!" The guards held her down. Strike 5. The lash kissed the same spot as before, intentionally cruel. A short arc of bioelectricity surged from the blade into Rylan's spine. He gasped. Droplets of blood hit the metal floor. He was weakening. Selira's breath caught in her throat. Something inside her cracked. Seeing him like this wasn't posturing, it wasn't politics, it was loyalty. Strike 6. Rylan's body pitched forward. He caught himself on one fist. The other hand clenched the ground like a lifeline. He was shaking now, his vision blurred. The sounds of the crowd faded under the ringing in his ears. That's when he heard a voice beside him. "You can stop this." Rylan turned his head. One of the Aurelians, tall, armored in ceremonial crystal plate. A noble, no, 2 of them, identical features. Warriors. "Let him finish," Rylan spat, coughing blood. The first Aurelian frowned. "You don't understand. We're not here to stop him." Selira blinked. "Kale? Orin?" Her brothers stepped forward. The guards turned. One of them spoke. "This is a sanctioned punishment under—" Orin backhanded him with a kinetic pulse gauntlet. The soldier crashed into a vendor stand, unconscious before he hit the ground. "Touch my sister again," Orin said calmly, "and I'll tear your armor off with my bare hands." Kyle, the older of the 2, approached the whipmaster, who took 1 step back. "You've spilled blood under false authority," Kyle growled. "That carries a price." Behind them, Rylan collapsed forward, catching himself on elbows and knees, breathing in ragged gasps. He wasn't conscious of the world anymore, only of fire inside his back and the faint scent of ozone from the lash. The guards hesitated. The crowd watched. And then something unthinkable happened. Kyle Draven, the heir to House Draven, nobility incarnate, dropped to 1 knee before the bloodied human. So did Orin. In silence, the 2 Aurelians placed their weapons on the ground. "For our sister, you bled," Kyle said, voice deep, solemn. "And so, by ancient right, our house now bleeds for you." A murmur rolled through the square. Nobles didn't kneel. Not for humans. Not for anyone. Selira, eyes wide, stepped forward and removed her own crest pin, her house sigil, and placed it on Rylan's shoulder. "You are no longer alone in this war," she whispered. Behind them, a distant alarm echoed through the corridor gates. Soldiers inbound. Reinforcements. Varric Torgan's men. Kyle stood and reached down to Rylan. "Can you walk?" Rylan opened one bloodshot eye. "If you carry the guns," Orin grinned, "he'll fit in just fine." They lifted the human, gently, carefully. And as they exited the square through a hidden corridor, the people watched in stunned silence. Some bowed their heads, others placed a hand over heart. For the first time, the spark of rebellion had a name, and it was human. Rylan Voss stood at the edge of a living balcony made of translucent crystal that pulsed faintly beneath his boots. The entire fortress breathed, literally. The Aurelians had grown their citadel over centuries, feeding it energy, light, and song. It was more than architecture. It was alive. Far below, the twin moons of Calor Prime shimmered over black mountain ranges. A soft violet storm curled in the distance, drawn by magnetic flux from the planetary core. Beautiful. Dangerous, just like everything else here. He winced as his back shifted under the bandages. 7 lash marks had torn his nerves to ribbons, but thanks to Aurelian biosurgeons and a dose of their illegal neural stem catalyst, he was standing again. Barely. Selira approached from behind, her bare feet silent on the crystalline floor. She didn't speak at first, just stood beside him, eyes scanning the horizon. "You're not healed yet," she said softly. "Neither are you." That made her pause. He turned to face her. "You had everything to lose in that square. You risked it all." Selira looked down at her clasped hands. "And you took the pain I was meant to bear." Silence stretched between them like the gap between stars. Then she handed him a dark crystal cube. "What is it?" "Our final weapon." Rylan turned the cube in his hand. Symbols floated inside, ancient glyphs rotating with every movement. The material felt cold. Heavy, important. "This came from the vaults beneath the old Draven stronghold," Selira said. "It's an interface key, coordinates to a locked hypershard deep beneath the fortress. My ancestors sealed it during the Collapse Wars. They believed it was too dangerous to ever be used again." "What's it do?" "It binds." Rylan arched an eyebrow. "To what?" "To a guardian," she answered. "A war construct, built during the last uprising. Sentient, massive. Buried and forgotten after the peace accords." Rylan looked back out toward the moons. "So, a giant mech." "Not just a mech. It's fused with Aurelian neural mesh and pre-human AI fragments from before the Exodus. Only someone who's not fully Aurelian, someone foreign, can awaken it without triggering its defenses." Rylan turned slowly. "You mean me?" Selira nodded. "Your biology, your neural patterns, your pain. It all makes you the only one who can interface with it." He stared at her. "You brought me here not just because I saved you. You needed me." "I won't lie," she said. "At first, yes. I needed a catalyst. But now—" She stepped closer. "I trust you." Before he could answer, Kyle entered the chamber, his crystalline pauldrons glowing with power. "We've intercepted a burst transmission," he said grimly. "Varric Torgan knows you're alive. Rylan, he's mobilizing. 70,000 troops and orbital strike cruisers." Orin followed close behind. "He's betting on overwhelming force. He wants to crush House Draven before you become a symbol." Rylan's fist clenched around the cube. "How long until he arrives?" 4 days, maybe less." Kyle stepped forward, offering a long ceremonial blade. "We can hide you, or we can fight." Rylan took the blade and slid it into the holster at his hip. "I've spent 3 years surviving. Time to start fighting." Orin grinned. "Good, because we've already started forging the resistance." Selira held up a holopad. A network map appeared. Nodes, comms lines, encrypted data threads lighting up across the Calor underground. Cell leaders, discontent nobles, smugglers, gladiators, even defecting colonial guards, she said. "We've all been waiting for something." "No," Rylan said, stepping onto the center dais of the war chamber. "You've been waiting for someone." He placed the cube into the central slot. The floor shook, light surged through the walls. The entire fortress groaned as deep beneath the crystal, ancient machinery stirred for the first time in centuries. A giant heartbeat echoed through the core. The Guardian was awakening. Rylan turned to the Aurelians gathered around him. "Get me a combat suit, a neural link, and 3 days." "What for?" Kyle asked. Rylan's voice was cold steel. Because I'm going to walk that war machine straight into Varric's army and show them what a human really is. Dawn broke over Kalo Prime like a warning shot. Varric Torgan's army spread across the obsidian plains, regimented lines of shock troopers, plasma artillery arrays, and 10 towering assault walkers pulsing with siege-class energy cores. Above them, colonial drop cruisers hovered like vultures, casting long shadows over the battlefield. On the horizon, the crystal fortress stood silent. Then the ground trembled. The enemy formations shifted, cannons locked, troopers raised weapons. From within, the fortress rose a sound not heard in over 4 centuries, a harmonic surge, deep and alien, like a war drum from the gods. The mountain split open, and the Guardian emerged, 50 meters tall, a construct of crystalline alloy, obsidian muscle, and radiant core light. Wings of refracted energy unfurled from its back like solar sails, casting rainbow halos in every direction. It walked like a titan, each step vibrating through bedrock. And inside, synced through an ancient neural interface, was a single pilot. Rylan Voss. His vision was flooded with data overlays, targeting grids, enemy heat signatures, and emotional resonance spikes from the battlefield. The Guardian wasn't just a machine, it was alive, and now it was angry. Connection stable, Salira's voice echoed in his mind through the neural uplink. Biometric fusion holding, core integrity, 97%. Then let's wake up the world, Rylan growled. He raised the Guardian's arm. Dozens of plasma mortars opened fire from Varric's front line. The first volley slammed into the Guardian, but dissipated against its adaptive shielding. Rylan didn't flinch. He took a step forward, then another. "Open me a path," he commanded. On cue, Orin and Kale dropped in from hover strikes, leading flanking teams of rebels and defectors. Aurelian blades clashed with colonial shock batons. Smoke and light turned the battlefield into chaos incarnate. Rylan's HUD locked onto the first assault walker. Target acquired. He surged forward. The Guardian leapt, gravity buckling beneath its mass, and crashed down on top of the enemy walker, driving a crystalline fist through its core. The explosion rocked the field. 2 more walkers turned to engage, but Rylan was already moving. He unleashed a pulse from the Guardian's forearm, compressed gravity laced with harmonic destabilizers. Both walkers collapsed, crushed by their own weight. Inside the colonial command barge, Varric Torgan watched the devastation unfold. Teeth clenched, his perfect invasion unraveling at the hands of one man. "Bring me visual on the pilot," he barked. The screen focused in. There he was, Rylan, scarred, determined, infused with light and fury. "Broadcast to all channels," Varric ordered. Rylan's voice cracked through the sky, projected to every comm frequency in the colony. "This is Rylan Voss of Earth. You bled my people, enslaved theirs. You took my freedom, my brothers, my name. Today, I take everything back." The Guardian extended its arms. Behind it, the crystal fortress opened fully, revealing the combined Aurelian fleet. Fighters soared out. Plasma strikes lit up the sky. Varric activated his personal assault drop pod. "Then come take it, human." He launched. The final duel began. Varric dropped like a meteor, encased in obsidian armor powered by a stolen Aurelian core. His impact cracked the earth, sending shockwaves across the plains. The Guardian met him head-on. Steel clashed with crystal, plasma with psionic energy. Each blow sent tremors through the ground. The fight wasn't graceful. It was primal. Inside the Guardian, Rylan's vitals surged. Neural stress indicators blinked red, but he pushed through the pain. Varric was faster, but Rylan was smarter. He baited, feinted, then unleashed the Guardian's inner core, a directed energy lance through the chest. Varric staggered, armor failing. Rylan seized him mid-charge, hoisting the traitor into the sky. For K-Law, for Earth. He drove him into the ground. and silence followed. The battlefield stilled. A single flare shot into the air, Draven blue, the signal, victory. All across the plains, soldiers dropped weapons. Some fell to their knees, others just stared, unsure whether they had just witnessed a miracle or a monster. The Guardian stood in the center of it all, cracked, smoking, but unbroken. Inside, Rylan slumped back in the neural cradle, exhausted. Salira's voice reached him again. "It's over." He opened his eyes. "No," he said. "It's just beginning." Epilogue. Under the twin moons. Later that night, under the soft glow of Kayla's twin moons, Salira approached Rylan atop the same crystal balcony where he had once stood alone. Now he stood taller, straighter, a symbol. "You changed us," she said quietly. He shook his head. "No, we changed everything. Together." She reached for his hand. This time he didn't hesitate. As their fingers intertwined, the fortress lights dimmed. Like it, too, was finally at peace. And beneath stars old and new, Rylan Voss, gladiator, soldier, guardian, became something else, not just a human, a legend.